Okay, let's talk about domain and range. What is domain? Well, domain is all our x values. So we got to think about the number line, right? We're going from negative infinity over here to positive infinity over here, and we're just looking at the x values. So if we look at the points that we have here and we're just looking at the x values, we have a domain of 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Negative 3, negative 2, negative 1, and 0. Okay, we're just looking at the x values. Now, if we want to consider the range, we're just looking at the y values. So we're going to look at the y-axis. So we're just moving along this axis here. My computer's not want to work with me today. Just moving along this axis here, we're going from positive infinity, negative infinity down here, and moving up, we have a range of negative 2, 0, 2, and this point that I've accidentally covered, 4. Okay, so domain is all our x values. And domain is read from left to right, like we're reading a book. And range is all our y values. And it's read from bottom to top. And you're always looking from negative, so you have to imagine these are all your negatives down here. You're always moving from negative to positive, and same thing with the x values. You're moving from negative to positive. So if you think back to when we were doing inequalities, you used to see an open circle, and that means that this is not included. And you're going to write that with an open parentheses. A closed circle means that the point that you're looking at is included in your set, and you're going to write it with a bracket. And if you see an arrow, like this, it means that you're moving to infinity. And it will be written within parentheses, with an open parentheses like that. I think the easiest way to do these is just by doing a couple examples. So we're going to write the domain and range of this graph in interval notation. So let's start by writing the domain. Okay. We're going to start on the left-hand side of the graph over here. And the edge of this graph is at -2. Now, I forgot to tell you before, when you are looking at something that is a closed, anything that's a line like this is a series of closed points like this. What you're looking at is, if you zoomed in really, really, really close, this is what you would see. So you're looking at a closed point at this number here, -2, and so I'm going to start by writing a bracket and -2. And then I'm going to move over, moving from left to right. I'm going this way. And the right edge of my graph here is at +2. It's also a series of closed points. And so I'm going to have another bracket. And the domain of this graph is from -2 to +2, and both of those points are included in the set. Okay, so let's look at the range now. Erase this. Okay, let's try the range. So again, we're going to always start at the bottom and move up. Let's try a different color. Start at the bottom and move up. The bottom of this graph is at 0. So when I'm writing the range, I have starting at 0, and I'm going to move from bottom to top. And as I move up the graph, this ends at +4. And this is also included in the set. And so our domain and range in interval notation, -2, 2, and 0, 4. Now, when you're doing domain and range, what's important to remember, like I said before, is you're always going to have a smaller number here and a bigger number here. And this is smaller and this is bigger because you're moving from small to big this way and from small to big this way. Okay, let's try and write the domain and range for this graph in interval notation. I'm going to start with the domain, and I'm going to start on the left-hand side. And I'm at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, -6, and you can see here that there's an open circle here. So that point is not included in the set. I'm going to write a parentheses, -6, and I'm going to move across the graph from left to right and find the right-hand edge of my graph, which is here. And that's at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm just double checking. And that is a closed point, so that one is included in the set. And when I'm double checking this, I should ask myself, is this number smaller than this number? It is. Do I move from left to right? Is this an open parentheses? It is. This one's closed. And something that I want you guys to think back to the number line when we were doing inequalities. And imagine that you have this compound inequality, and this is kind of what you're looking at here. Now, it's not a straight line. It kind of moves right up and down a little bit like this, but this is kind of what we're looking at. Now, instead of writing this was an open circle, we're going to change this open circle to a parentheses, and it kind of looks like a parentheses, and we're going to change this closed circle to a bracket. So it's kind of the same thing that we were doing before. Now let's find the range. When we go to the bottommost edge of this graph, I see both a closed circle, I see a line down here, and I see this open circle. Which one takes precedence? Well, you cannot be both not included and included. So if you have both an open circle and a closed circle, the closed circle takes precedence. It's going to be included in the set. So moving from bottom to top, the range, I start with a bracket. I'm at -2. And now I'm going to move from small to big, moving up this way. And moving from bottom to top, we're here. And I see a line, which is a series of closed points. So this is going to be included in the set. And I'm at +2. And that's the domain and range for this graph in interval notation. Is this number smaller than this number? Yes, because I moved from the small numbers down here, moving up to the bigs. Is this number smaller than this number? Yes, because I moved from the small numbers over here to the bigger numbers here.